So in one world under Doom, we've come to the point where Emperor Doom is just putting everyone to shame. Dormammu, S.H.I.E.L.D., the X-Men, Fantastic Four, the Avengers, as well as a handful of villains. And at one point it just has me thinking like, man, these guys should stop fighting him and start taking notes. Heroes and villains alike. So with that said, if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so in our last talk, we left off with Emperor Doom going up against Dormammu in a fight that took quite the toll on Doom's body. But because Doom had sent all the heroes to a rapidly collapsing pocket dimension, let's not forget that detail, when Dormammu had first arrived, this set the stage for Doom to bring them all back in a way that would seem like they were all siding with Doom, when the truth is they really just have a common enemy. And it has them saying here, the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men, each of them, all of them, now fight for Doom. And as chaotic as things might be at the moment, this is something that's not going to be unnoticed. And as soon as the heroes get back, Doom doesn't waste any time, because off the rip, he's out here giving orders, starting with him telling the Scarlet Witch to seal off Dormammu's portals. So Wanda looks over to Carol, and for whatever reason, this reminds me of that scene in Blade 2, where Blade was like, come on, what you looking at her for? You need permission? Like, okay, let me help you out. But right away, Carol tells Wanda to do it. And Doom tells her carefully, Wanda, do not aim your magics at his portals. You must cut off Dormammu's very connection to his dimension. And Wanda starts to tell him that's dark magic, like it won't work, only for Doom to tell her it will. And just before she does, she tells him, Victor, if this is a trick, and he just stops her right there saying, this is no trick, Wanda. I swear to you on the soul of my mother, Doom fights for Earth. And I mean, right there, it's like, yeah, if Doom swears on his mother, he's serious. But at the same time, with him saying Doom fights for Earth, that's a very nebulous statement. But Wanda goes on to sever Dormammu's connection as the other heroes continue to fight. And now with Dormammu no longer having the help of his demons or the excessive power of the dark dimension to draw from, now he's solo versus the whole lobby. So he tells the heroes like, oh, you're gonna align yourself with him? Only for Cap and Tony to tell him like, hey, we aren't working for Doom, we're working for us. And we just happen to have an aligned interest, which is defeating you. And at the end of the day, Dormammu doesn't see it any different, because not only does he no longer have the advantage, but also when he tells them here, and yet you follow Doom's orders, he calls them pathetic. And it's like, all things considered, he's not totally wrong. And this is just followed by him catching an invisible left hook from Sue, as Doom uses this opportunity to step away and retrieve the Eye of Agamotto, so he can use its power to restore his own. And with how Doom describes this, aside from the magic being used to hold him together, for one thing, it's still very painful. But aside from the magic and the pain that he's enduring, Doom's like he's using his willpower to ignore the pain, as well as the abundance of hatred that comes from just looking at Dormammu and seeing what he tried to do to Doom and his world. And collectively, all this just really paints the picture as far as how unrelenting Doom is when he returns to Dormammu and banishes him back to his dimension. Which again is a very grand display of heroics on Doom's part. Because even though he's out here being all that he can be, Doom also wants his great feats to be seen. Because like he told Valeria before, he's doing this for the glory. And as far as Doom wanting people to see what he's doing, that only applies to the positive stuff, because we've seen in Red Hulk for quite some time now what Doom has been hiding in Latveria. And we'll talk more about that in a moment. But in the here and now, right after Doom had just slam dunked Dormammu back in the dark dimension, for a moment Carol Danvers is basically like, wait, did you kill him? Only for Doom to tell her, no, he's not dead, just neutralized. I banished him back to his meager dimension, held there in eternal spells of my own design. So right there, Wanda's like, wait, no, that's impossible. And she tells Doom forever magic can't be done. They have to be, and Doom just stops her right there. And he finishes her sentence saying, anchored to an event here on Earth. Correct, Wanda. And that is precisely what I have accomplished. The spells binding Dormammu are, as decreed, tied to earthly circumstances, yet they will nonetheless remain eternal. For their end only comes when Doom's rule of Earth does, which for Doom is just a nice little bit of leverage, because some people will want to keep him in power just because of that. When truth be told, it'd be more like things going back to normal, with the responsibility just landing on the next Sorcerer Supreme. But that doesn't even matter right now, because the number of people who are in favor of Emperor Doom, it shot through the roof, especially after the fight with Dormammu. And we catch a bit of that in this broadcast that everyone's watching, where the host is saying, when Earth's champions all disappeared, they left our planet undefended, save for Doom, who faced the threat of Dormammu alone. And when she passes it off to the political roundtable, one dude's like, all Earth's heroes working alongside Doom, it's a remarkable sight. Call me an optimist, but I think this portends to further cooperation. Finally. And the other guy's like, we can't forget that Dormammu's banishment will last as long as Doom's rule does. Great motivation for keeping Doom in power, as if we needed it. And another guy at the round table, he quotes, "Only Doom can save you." And he's like, that isn't just a slogan, it's the way forward. And that was proven today. He saved our world from desolation, from war, from an Omega level threat, and way more permanently than has ever been achieved before. I'm not afraid to say it. It's appreciated. And when it goes back around to the host, she's still right on board with all of this. And she even closes this segment saying, "Tonight we're truly a united world. One world under Doom." Because to the general public, Doom can't do any wrong at this point. And back over with the heroes who are literally doing the heavy lifting for all the search and rescue, we find out during the fight, Doom put a protective spell around everyone at the United Nations. And because of that, every last one of them survived. And I mean, even with them being protected, they still need the heroes' help as well as emergency responders to get them out from the rubble. But now this stirs up a conversation because on one hand, it has brain drain like, okay, what's Doom's angle? And Squirrel Girl's just like, it's the same thing it's been from the start of this. He's trying to get people to like him. He's been presenting himself as a hero, and honestly, it's not like he's been failing at it. He's given the world peace, healthcare, education, food, security, and she makes it clear like she's not trying to defend Doom or anything like that. She's just calling it like it is. But then we also get this moment where Sue's helping this lady get out from the wreckage, and the lady's like, "Oh, thank you, Doom. Thank you, Doom." And it just has Sue like, I gotta say, never has my code name felt more appropriate. Because clearly that woman was acting like she couldn't see Sue helping her. But also when Tony tells her by his count that should be everyone, Sue does a final check just to be on the safe side by turning all the rubble invisible so they can see straight through it and find out if anyone else is trapped out here. And when she does this, they're all clear. Doom didn't miss anyone, not a single injury or fatality. But even now, after helping everyone get out from the wreckage, the big question that Tony asks here is what now? Because just going by what everyone's saying with Doom being such a swell guy, it sounds like all the heroes are going to stop going after him. But at the same time, if they do, then you're literally just letting Doom run the world. So right now for the heroes, this is a conversation that has to be had. And that's when we see Thor approach and he's like, "I would put a question to thee friends, and I would ask that thee consider it carefully." So Sue, Carol, and the others are like, "Of course, Thor. Anything." And this is where Thor's like, "Is it not possible that Doom truly is thy best choice for Midgard?" And I mean, one sentence in and Tony's like, "No." And he's telling Thor like, "Don't fall into that trap." And Thor's like, "Hey, I asked you to consider it carefully." And Tony's just like, "Okay, I mean, I will." But right here, this ends up leading to a moment where they all hear Thor out for what he has to say. And he goes on to tell them here, "Friends, I am of Asgard, where the Allfather is both king and protector of all 10 realms. Odin demanded respect from mortals and gods alike, and he received it. The Allfather, my Allfather, earned it. Under his rule, each of the 10 realms was saved from all matter of calamity, disaster, and ruin across timeless eons. Of course, Odin was not perfect, none of us are, and none know this better than myself, now that I have succeeded him as king. But more often than not, he was the best of us. More often than not, he was all that stood between us and apocalypse." And you know, hearing this reminds me of a couple years back when we got that giant-sized Thor issue when we covered Odin's funeral, because at the time it took us through a ton of stories that kind of reminded us how important Odin was, even though at the time leading up to his death, the Thor series was more focused on his mistakes. But even with that leading up to God of Hammers and Odin passing down the all-power to Thor, at the time this funeral was a great reminder to show everyone like, hey, there may have been times where Odin did some people dirty, but at the same time, if he wasn't who he was, countless more would have suffered because of it. And that's really the crux of what Thor is talking about here, because now he also admits that he's been struggling to figure out why a system that has worked for every other realm for countless years just simply won't work here. And Thor even goes on to point out how Midgard's been prosperous since Doom's taken his throne, and even the fact that he's found out that Doom has done more to improve this realm in weeks than the Avengers have in years. And this just has Tony like, "Okay, buddy, I promised you I'd consider it, and I'm doing so now. Considering, and done." And he's like, "Thor, are you out of your mind?" And there's even a moment here where Carol's like, "Tony, I hate to say it, but Thor's not entirely wrong. Earth is still here today because of what Doom did." And Tony's just like, "For all we know, Doom set up the whole thing. Maybe he let Dormammu in just so he could defeat him." And that's where Carol's like, "Okay, and what, break every bone in his body in the process?" And I mean, Tony doesn't have all the answers to this just yet, because he's like, those limbs are healing already, or maybe it was magic and they weren't ever broken in the first place. And one person's like, "Tony, you sound like a conspiracy theorist." And Tony's like, "You all sound like cult members. He's Dr. Doom. His literal last name is Doom." And I gotta tell you, like when Tony had this moment, I'll admit I ain't even mad at him, because it's almost as if everyone's forgotten everything Doom has ever done. And I mean, with the exception of Squirrel Girl, because she is with Tony on this one, because they both believe that Doom wants the heroes to think that they're the bad guys, or at the least be at odds with one another, since Doom is a master manipulator. But then Thor's like, "Yeah, okay, but how exactly did Doom go about this?" Oh yeah, that's right, by saving us and all the other 9 realms from Dormammu. Cause if that's the case, then Doom could keep it up. Cause if Doom did, their work would be made much simpler. And when Thor's like, am I missing something? Squirrel Girl's like, yeah, you know, the whole freedom part with the Earth being under an emperor. And again, Thor goes back to the idea of how would this be any different? With Asgard being under its king, just as countless other nations in Midgard are. And the way that Thor describes it is like Doom is at his highest, and he's raised Midgard up with him. And not only did he defeat Dormammu, but it was done so well that not even Death herself could claim a single soul today. From the mighty Thor all the way down to the mighty Frank in custodial services. And Thor's just like, we can't ignore that, simply because we do not like the man. And then it's here where Maria Hill shows up, saying that they don't have to ignore it. Because when she gets here, she's like, hey, Sue, Tony, Carol, everyone else. I'm Maria Hill, director of S.H.I.E.L.D., what's left of it. I'm here because I know why you keep losing, and why Doom keeps winning. He's hiding something, and it's big. We know where it is, and we know how to get to it. But it's going to take all of us. And now this takes us right into an announcement that's hitting the newspaper and the websites about Reed Richards challenging Emperor Doom to what's said to be a public contest of cognition. And because the world has this growing number of people who are in support of Emperor Doom, you can tell even in the way that some of these announcements are worded. It's like they're really trying to make Reed look bad before the contest has even started. Because at one point they even referred to Reed as the former member of the shadowy Illuminati, which once sought to control the world without the public's knowledge. And right there, just kind of like, yeah, that's not a good look. Because now it's like before they're even getting started, people are already looking at Reed sideways. But going into this, it's broadcasted live on 616 TV. And we see this start with Reed saying, before we begin, Victor, shall we set the stakes? So Doom tells him the terms of this discussion have already been agreed to, Richards. You cannot wiggle off the hook now. And that's where Reed's like, I'd never dream of it, Emperor. But such an event carries no meaning if it carries no weight. How can we argue for the future of our world, old friend, if that world won't change? Unless, that is, you're afraid you'll lose. And as you might have expected, Doom doesn't only accept this offer, but he also takes this opportunity to make a display of Reed by addressing the audience and the viewers and basically telling them like, hey, look at this guy. Behold Mr. Fantastic and his clumsy attempts at manipulation. But not only does Doom accept Reed's offer, but he even steps it up a notch by telling Reed, Doom not only accepts your stakes, Richards, Doom raises them. I want only what's best for my world, and if you're what's best, Richards, then so be it. Should Doom win this discussion, quote unquote, old friend, Doom will step down. Now then, let us proceed. Let us, you and I, decide the fate of our world. And now when this starts, Doom is quick to point out the fact that Reed's able to keep up as far as logic and on the emotional plane as well as the interpersonal, but even with that being the case, only Doom can win hearts. And the only advantage that Reed has is what was given to him by Maria Hill, because this is all really her plan. But as this continues, Reed brings up Blood Hunt, and he says here, I have persuasive evidence, Victor, that the events of Blood Hunt, the very events that will remind our audience that led you to both the mantle of Sorcerer Supreme and Emperor, could have been prevented by you. Sir, you knew what would happen. You knew how many people would die. And Victor, you let it happen. And we're told here, Reed knows it's a hit. It should be a triumph, but something's wrong. Although Reed can't prove it, he has the distinct and sinking sensation that Doom is smiling under his mask. And the thing with Doom, when it comes to Blood Hunt, we knew he was prepared and that he was plotting. But it really wasn't until we were heading into the conclusion where we saw what that was leading to. But for Reed to call Doom out on this, in front of the world, this in itself should have ended the debate. But even still, Doom knows how to take some of the worst things that he's done and flip it around so it sounds like he's the hero that everyone needed. And he does that here in his response by bringing up Churchill's knowledge of Japan's attack at Pearl Harbor and framing it to sound like Doom had to make the same hard decision. Because he says here, Churchill faced a choice, warn the Americans and prevent the attack, thus prolonging the war indefinitely, or let the events proceed, thereby drawing America into the conflict and hastening the fall of Hitler forever. His decision to keep it secret came too late for many of my people, already killed under genocidal policies of Nazism, but it would lead to others, orders of magnitude more, including my family surviving the war. It was an impossible choice, but Churchill didn't shy from it. He made it, and he stood by it. And even now when Reed tries to argue this point as far as what's proven and what's not, Doom quickly counters, telling Reed that none of what he said was really proven either. And Doom destroys Reed's argument here by saying to the audience and the viewers, Doom stands before you unapologetic for the impossible choice he made for your greater good. That is what leaders do, and it is what has saved us all. And on the side, he's like, Reed Richards knows two things. The first is that what Doom has just said is an emotional appeal, unsupported and unsupportable, blurring facts and feelings together. And the second thing that Reed knows here is that he's losing. And now aside from this, when we head over to the other portion of Maria Hill's plan, which in the larger picture is just adding S.H.I.E.L.D. intelligence and S.H.I.E.L.D. secrets to what the heroes already had. Like with Reed with her providing information on Doom. But over here, just outside of Latveria, she lets the other heroes know like, hey, before you tried to break Doom's barrier with just brute force, but now you have S.H.I.E.L.D. intelligence and the Doom whose attention is elsewhere. And this allows Hill to orchestrate a very specific attack, where the heroes can create a weak spot so that Black Widow, Scarlet Witch, and Invisible Woman can slip in before that opening heals up. Because for the entire duration of One World Under Doom up to this point, they've had no clue about what's been going on inside Latveria. And I mean, we know because of Incredible Hulk issue 800 as well as the Red Hulk series, but a majority of the world has just had no idea what's been happening here. And so when the three arrive, Sue makes them all invisible so they can move around without being seen. And Widow's just like, yeah, you're making my job easy. But as they take a look around, not only do they notice something's off, but quickly Widow points out here a couple who's walked the same route for the third time, as if everyone here was just being played back as some sort of loop. And since Wanda doesn't sense that there's any magic being used here, Sue calls it out like, no, this is hard light. So she sends out an equal and opposite wavelength to disrupt the hard light constructs, which then reveals this huge building standing at the middle of everything. And it becomes strikingly obvious very quick, like whatever answers they're looking for, they're inside this building. But when Wanda goes to get past the defensive spells, she's like, wait, this is Sorcerer Supreme, since it's magic, Dr. Doom. It's powerful beyond anything I've seen, but there's nothing fighting me. And that means one thing, these spells aren't built to keep people out, they're built to keep people in. So Wanda lets them know that she can carve a tunnel through it and they can use that same tunnel as a way out. And as they head inside, Widow's keeping Maria Hill updated, while on one hand you have Sue who's like, even with months, how could Doom build something like this so quickly? And Wanda answers right away, she's like, magic. But the levels to which that are being used here are insane, because when Widow asks Wanda if she can just destroy it, Wanda tells her that she doesn't even know, because this place is using time magic, chaos magic, blood magic, elemental spells, all of them at levels that shouldn't even be possible. And at one point she's like, the magic is stacked 9 layers deep. And one of the main reasons why Wanda is so blown away by this is because magic comes at a cost. And right when she starts to think about the time that was needed to prep this, as well as the power that was needed to cast it, they find the countless people who Doom's been harvesting, which at one point said to be like 1 million souls, which is wild. But at the same time, this is just the other side of the coin, because long before One World Under Doom even started, we learned that before Doom became Sorcerer Supreme, he was holding prisoners in Latveria to farm strategy. So when you think about it, what's to stop Doom from doing the same with power? Because also, come to think of it, it really wasn't that long ago in the Thor series when we saw Doom using the citizens of Latveria to create this artificial afterlife as a way to avoid Armageddon, because Doom was the only one who could do what needed to be done. And even in that story, Doom was using his people's souls as fuel, because when it comes to Doom fueling some of his craziest spells, he needs that premium unleaded. And in this case, in One World Under Doom, it's not too surprising that he just has the soul draining factory in full effect here. And I mean, as far as scale, it's crazy. But after making this discovery, Widow's telling Maria Hill to get her on with Reed now, because she caught Doom in 4K and they're sending visuals. And now this information and this intel, the pictures, it doesn't take much time to get back over to Reed. So he stops Doom right in mid-sentence to air out these receipts and show the world footage from Latveria, so the world can see for themselves what Doom has been hiding. And of course Doom's not happy about this, so he tries to stop Reed and try to take the holographic projector from him. And even now Doom is addressing the audience and the viewers, saying things like, know this, citizens of Doom, these are volunteers, loyalists, who've agreed to sacrifice themselves for the good of everyone else. They are heroes, men and women who... But again, Reed just stops him right there like, yo, we are looking at children. So really, there's no way to even dress this up or make it seem as if this was something Doom had to do. Because Doom is literally robbing every one of his citizens of their life force and their future and giving it to himself. And I mean everyone, no exceptions. And the way that Reed words it here makes it sound a little crazy, but he's truly just calling a spade a spade. Because yes, this is how Doom became so powerful, this is how he's fueling his spells, but also quite literally Doom is sacrificing his own people at the altar of himself. And right there it's just like, yeah, it's as bad as it sounds. But then when Doom puts his hand over Reed's mouth, which is kind of funny to me, not sure why, but Doom goes on to tell him here, yes, I am Reed, and I would sacrifice 1 million more if I had to. These glories cannot be achieved otherwise, you obvious fool. There is a cost to greatness, Richards, and it must be paid by someone. The bargain is fair. It gives us our peace, our wealth, we are safe, and we are happy. And as Doom is saying this, he's pulling on Reed's head and his chin in both directions, while Reed is just like at the expense of the lives of everyone, and Doom just tells him the means are more than justified by the ends, as he just pulls a chunk of Reed's head off, and it just has Reed like, if these horrors are so justified, then why, Victor, do you hide them? And mind you, this whole time, the world's just been watching this debate. So not only have they learned the truth, but they're also witnessing Emperor Doom crash out in real time. So of course Doom just cuts the feed so that no one can see any more of this, but at this point the truth is out there. And now the world's seeing Emperor Doom for who he truly is. But the crazy thing about this is perhaps also the most realistic part, because after this we follow many of the responses that take place for the next 10 days. Because on the day after, there's all kinds of protests. In day 2, we see some of the remarks, with one of the protesters saying Doom's mask has finally slipped, while another lady who's walking by, she's just like, I don't get what all the fuss is about. First of all, I don't think I've ever met a Latverian. And even with that, it's like, I get what you're saying, lady, but that's not the point. Then on day 3, you got J. Jonah Jameson, who's siding with the protesters, which is something he doesn't usually do, but he goes on to use his platform to bring the truth and let the world know that Doom's menace is out of control. And the crazy part to me is the part that's most realistic. Because aside from the protesters protesting against Doom, you also have those who are still for him, even after they saw Doom pick apart Reed's face like wet toilet paper. And they're just like, well, Doom didn't lose the argument, so he doesn't have to step down. Basic logic. And I'll tell you right now, as this heads into the 4th day, a lot of this just feels like what the algorithm be recommending sometimes. Like, it'll be a whole row of just this stuff. But on the 4th day, we see a conversation that's being broadcast about treason and how it's always been illegal, and how Doom is making it crystal clear what treason is. Because as soon as the next day, we see J. Jonah Jameson getting snatched up, because now there's a very thin line between treason and freedom of speech. Because really, if anyone is saying anything about Doom that he doesn't like, then he's shutting it down. And on day 6, you see conversations with people creating their own justifications, because it's almost like the further you get away from the truth, the easier it is to rationalize what you want to believe. And on day 7, Doom makes an announcement saying he's tolerated the dangerous and unpredictable vigilante heroes for too long. And he's like, unfortunately, the demands of running the world mean I can't give every matter my personal attention. And then we find out on day 8 that this has led to the public taking things into their own hands, after a number of heroes, or quote-unquote criminal vigilantes, whose names were already public, like Dr. Stephen Strange, Jennifer Walters, Clint Barton, and several others. They've all had their addresses made readily available online, which has led to an explosion at Stark Tower, dozens of letter bombs being delivered to the Sanctum Sanctorum, and nobody's catching any charges for doing this because the police say no one's been seriously injured, which is wild. And from here, day 9 just flies right through day 10, with Doom just wiping out this uprising, while showing absolutely no mercy in the process. So now over at the Impossible City, Maria Hill's gathered the heroes to hit Doom with everything they've got. And much like before, there's also some villains here and there. And I'd say this time around, the only 2 things that are different than before are, 1, now that they're working closely with Maria Hill, this attack is more like a coordinated strike. And secondly, she's leading the heroes into this with the intention of them going after Doom with their full might and holding nothing back. Because before they head out, she even tells them here, know that I have developed strategies for each of you. And know too that we are not holding back. We are shooting to kill, once and for all. We are putting this tyrant down. And going forward, this quickly turns into a Doom versus everyone kind of fight, much like the title of issue 7. And with it being televised in front of the world, we head over to Valeria Richards, who's watching this from the family farm in Arizona, with her saying here, the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, the X-Men. I'm Valeria Richards, and as I watch, as the world watches, each of them, all of them, now come for my godfather. Months ago, he came to me to justify what he was doing. He told me he sought glory. That glory is now dead. All that is left is power and control. And as I watch Doom take the ruins of his castle, using them first as missiles and then to crush the heroes, I can see that his plans have changed. And really, Valeria, she hits the nail on the head here. Because just like she said for Doom, since the glory is out of the picture, all that is left is power and control. And as she's watching this with the other kids in Arizona, Valeria goes back and forth with Franklin as well as Nikki, because really all the kids here are like, hey, Doom's gonna lose. Because on one hand, you got Franklin, who's like, Doom's just one guy with a T-Rex, while on the other hand, you have Nakala, who at first was like, Doom's gonna fall, but now he's like, well, he is Sorcerer Supreme, and he's had months to prepare. And then he's like, but the news said S.H.I.E.L.D.'s secret files are being used in the attack. All the heroes are combining their powers with each other's in new ways, attacks he's not seen before. Therefore, they are attacks he cannot defend against. And Valeria's like, that's the thing. He is defending against them. Look at him. Uncle Doom is winning. And when we jump over to the fight, that's exactly what we see, with Reed now coordinating multiple devastating attacks. But Doom's calling them all like, oh, here he comes from the front. Parry, here he comes from above. And Doom's ready for all of it, though at the same time he's reserving some of his resources for the next attack that's coming from behind. And he's just like, oh, Reed, so predictable. But at one point, Doom gets smacked by a not so predictable hit, and he's like, hold up, impossible, who dares? Only to find that he's been sent to the astral plane by Reed Richards, the Scientist Supreme. And right here, Doom's just like, no, not him. He can never stretch his thinking enough to, but he has. The world's oldest, stupidest dog has finally learned a new trick. And it's just like, man, Doom always has time to roast Reed. But come to find out, Reed brought Doom here so they could have a little chat. With Reed saying here, I'd hope that revealing your true face to the world would lead you to stepping down, Victor. I was wrong. And so, plan B. Since this started, you've been winning simply because you've been more powerful. Every step of the way, you've been wielding a weapon I don't understand. Magic. Time magic, dark magic, sorcerer supreme magic. But I've been studying it, building up a table of its repeatable properties. It's periodic, did you know that? I have a real problem with magic, but I'm great at science. I've been building a new science, Victor. You know what my favorite part of science is? It's that anyone can wield it. You don't need to be special or chosen. You don't even need to think you're a god. You simply need to put in the work. That's what I've been doing since you started this whole nightmare. Learning, harnessing, and so here I am. On the astral plane, having studied how you defeated Dormammu. I know I can still stop this. I know I can still fix this. So let us proceed. Sorcerer Supreme versus Scientist Supreme. Let us, you and I, decide the fate of our world. And Reed is just like, flame on. And I will say that let us decide the fate of our world line, that was a nice callback to the debate in issue 6. But with how Reed is going about this whole approach with the flaming claws and whatnot, he is quite literally copying Doom's whole flow, word for word, bar for bar. And Doom picks that up right away, because now he's like ridiculous, laughable, gormless. He is a clown, clumsy, playing at godhood. Even as he attacks, he tries to talk to me, debate me, distract me. I ignore it all. Doom, man, you gotta love this guy. Even so, for a man of Richard's staggering limitations, just being here on the astral plane is a remarkable achievement. Remarkable in the same way an animal driving a vehicle is remarkable, but it is nowhere near enough. He's already told me his weakness without even realizing it. Dormammu, he's attacking me with the spells I invented, thinking they might somehow overwhelm. He is a child dressed in his emperor's clothes. He is a forger and a thief, and the clumsy, entitled, ambitious pretender. He is Uriah Heep, ripped from the pages of Dickens. And as we grapple, his eyes seem to take on every shade of color that could make eyes ugly. I correct him for his hubris against his emperor. I move him into an infinitely iterated fractal dimension, where every cell of his body is stretched farther and farther. So far, in fact, that they can no longer be traditionally measured. And finally, I remove us both from the astral plane, forever sealing it from him. The two of us return to Latveria, to the battlefield, and at this point Reed's just like, Victor, please. As Doom continues with, he begs for mercy. Reed Richards begs for my mercy, but to the victor belong the spoils. And now I see what you did there, Doom. But finally, when Doom responds to Reed begging for mercy, he just says to him, you won't die, Richards. I promise nothing more. As Doom hits Reed with the most insane non-lethal attack ever. Because I mean, he said he wasn't going to kill him. But I can only imagine Reed probably wishes he was dead right now. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to drop a like and let me know in the comments, how do you feel about Doom after these last 3 issues? Do you feel the same since One World Under Doom began? Have your thoughts on him changed? Do the ends justify the means here? I'm curious to know all of your thoughts. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. All right, later.